Hello there! Welcome to a special year-end edition of Motoring Today, the Philippines' premier and longest-running weekly motoring news and features electronic magazine. I'm Ray Louis Gamboa.
And I'm Susie Gamboa. Last year, we called this edition of the year that was in motorsports as racing in the time of COVID-19. Perhaps this year, we can call this the half year that was in local motorsports.
Action on the real circuits and, yes, asphalt and dirt courses only truly started in the latter part of 2021 when government and health authorities finally allowed on-track racing to resume and the AAP began to sanction races.
There was, of course, e-racing, which continued to grow in participation and significance as a legitimate motorsport, with an FIA and its local affiliate, the AAP, sanctioning, hosting, or partnering with organizers of e-motorsports championships.
This year's special year-end edition of the year that was in motorsports, racing and e-racing in the second year of the pandemic. We will review the many races, series, and championships, both real and virtual, that have kept the fires of motorsports burning in 2021.
In this year-end special, we also review highlights of conversations with important stakeholders in local motorsports, racing champions, organizers, the AAP, about what motorsports is like in COVID-19 times, how they cope with lockdowns, the return of racing, and ideas on what motorsports will be in the new normal.
Stay tuned. When we return, we'll take a look at how real racing returned in the second year of the pandemic.
This Motoring Today year-end special episode is brought to you by Mitsubishi Motors Philippines, Prudential Guarantee, Suzuki Philippines, and Toyota Motor Philippines.
I think my dad is secretly a superhero. He's the coolest, smartest, strongest person alive. No matter where we go, he always makes sure I feel safe. And he isn't afraid of anything. My dad likes to call that the power to lead. I call it his superpower.
The Mitsubishi Strada athlete, confident to the core.
Welcome back to our year-end special, the year that was in motorsports, racing and e-racing in the second year of the pandemic. 2021 was a year when authorities looked to allow more businesses, recreational and sports activities to resume. The year started with looser restrictions, but then cases surged and tighter protocols were imposed, affecting motorsports activities early on.
But government realized it must strike a balance between easing COVID-19 quarantine restrictions and opening up the economy to allow people to earn livelihoods and businesses to resume operations. This also allowed motorsports activities, particularly on the track events, to return.
The best news for grassroots racing organizers came heading into the middle of 2021 when the Motorsports Department of Automobile Association Philippines, or AAP, announced it would begin sanctioning events. AAP noted that with the number of COVID-19 cases showing signs of declining and with more people being vaccinated and practicing health protocols, motorsports activities were now allowed by the IATF in GCQ and MGCQ areas. Guidelines were soon issued that said AAP Motorsports was ready to accept applications for and sanction motorsports events in GCQ and MGCQ classified venues. In a letter to local motorsports organizers, AAP Motorsports said all events sanctioned by AAP in GCQ and MGCQ venues must observe IATF-mandated safety protocols, including the wearing of face masks and shields, social distancing, reduced spectator capacity, etc. Soon after AAP released its guidelines, racing organizers began preparations to resume motorsports events. Toyota Gazoo Racing Academy Philippines, or the TGR Academy, soon reopened. The reopening of the TGR Academy, formerly known as the Toyota Racing School, came at a time when Toyota announced the return of the Vios Cup, its popular one-make annual series. The Academy welcomed new sets of drivers as well as familiar faces in local grassroots racing, many of whom were preparing for the 2021 Toyota Gazoo Racing Vios Cup. 2 levels of classes were held. Level 1, or the basic circuit car class, taught students basic skills and essential safety rules needed to properly drive a race car around the track. Level 2, or the advanced circuit class, were participated in by those looking to shake off the rust in driving skills accumulated from months of lockdowns. Registration was conducted online. Theoretical lessons were held through a webinar. Individual hands-on training was held at the Clark International Speedway. 2021 saw the return of Toyota's Vios Cup after a 1-year hiatus brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. Last held in 2019 as part of the Vios Cup Racing Festival, the Vios Cup returned with a new title, Toyota Gazoo Racing Vios Cup 2021. 3 legs, with 3 races in each leg for a total of 9 races were scheduled. The grid for each race was to be made up of 3 classes, promotional, sporting, and super sporting. Every race weekend would also see the Autocross Challenge with 2 categories, media and celebrity influencer. The first leg of the 2021 Vios Cup, held over 2 days at the Clark International Speedway, was an exciting affair. A 24-car mixed grid of racers fighting for championship points in 3 respective classes, made for thrilling wheel-to-wheel racing from the front of the field all the way to the back. Adding to the thrill was the reverse grid rule, with top finishers in the preceding race starting the next race farther back down the grid in reverse order. Race 1 finished with Estefano Rivera in P1 and Jared Loy finishing second and Red Diwa in third. Race 2 saw Loy moving up to first, Diwa up to second, while Rivera dropped to third. Race 3 had Loy in first, Brian Go in second, and Mark Sung in third. Inigo Anton ruled Race 1 of the sporting class with Julian Tang in second and Joaquin Garrido in third. Race 2 had Tang on P1, Garrido on P2, and Anton on P3. Race 3 saw Anton back on top with Jacob Ang in second and Tang in third. The promotional class had Myla Olivia topping Race 1, Giro Garbes in second, and Julia de Los Angeles in third. Race 2 had Troy Montero in first, Olivia in second, and Jason Lau in third. Race 3 saw Garbes finishing ahead of Fabio Ida in second and Roy Sarmiento in third. In the Autocross Challenge, Jose Altaveros topped the media class, Ian Magbano in second, and Inigo Roses in third. Alex Diaz topped the Celebrity Influencers class, John Manalo second, and Jules Aquino third. Following a long postponement and prompted by another surge in COVID-19 cases, the 2021 Vios Cup resumed with Leg 2 at the same Clark venue on October 16. It was another 2 days of action-packed wheel-to-wheel racing, with Diwa topping Race 4 in the super sporting class, finishing ahead of Rivera in second and Ko in third. Race 5 saw Rivera back on top, with Paul Dumlao in second and Loy in third. Race 6 saw Rivera winning ahead of Loy in second and Ko in third. In the sporting class, Ang topped Race 4, Anton was second and Tang third. Race 5 saw Anton back on top with Tang in second and Ang in third. Race 6 had Anton on P1, Tang on P2, and Garrido on P3. In the promotional class, Los Angeles was the surprise winner of Race 4, with Ida in second and Garbes in third. In the Autocross Challenge, Altaveros again ruled the media class. Brian Dacanay was second, while Paulo de Borja was third. Aquino's quickest in the celebrity class, Enzo Pineda ended up second, and Gino Killimore finished third. The third and final leg of the 2021 Vios Cup, when the overall championships were to be decided with double points available, the races were even more thrilling. Race 7 saw Dumlao topping the super sporting class after staving off challenges of Rivera, who finished second, while Diwa settled for third. Race 8 was again ruled by Dumlao, with Rivera and Diwa back anew in second and third. Race 9 finally had Rivera on top of the podium, joined by Loy in second and Ko in third. The sporting class saw Ang score an upset win in Race 7 over pre-race favorite Anton in second, with Daniel Garbes ending up third. Race 8 had Ang back on top, Garrido in second, and Anton dropping to third. Race 9 saw Garrido climbing up to first, edging out Anton who settled for second while Ang finished third. In the promotional class, Garbes ruled race 7 ahead of Lau in second and Montero in third. Race 8 saw Lau climbing up a step on the podium, beating Garbes in second and Montero in third. Race 9 finally saw Montero top the podium with Alain Alzona in second and Garbes in third. Aquino was quickest in the celebrity class of the Autocross Challenge with Aaron Villaflor coming in second and Lexi Mendiola in third. Altaveros again ruled the media class with Enzo de los Reyes finishing second and Deborah settling for third. At the end of an exciting and action-packed 2021 Toyota Gazoo Racing Vios Cup, Stefano Rivera emerged as overall champion of the super sporty class. Despite not winning a race in the final round, Inigo had done enough in the earlier rounds to still clinch the overall championship in the sporting class. Giro Garbes finished the season as overall champion in the promotional class by consistently scoring podium finishes in all 3 rounds. Jose Altaveros again emerged as media class champion of the Autocross Challenge, while Jules Aquino was champion of the Celebrity Influencer class. The Philippine Rallycross Series, or PHRX, was among the few motorsports events that managed to squeeze in a round or 2 early in the year before community quarantine protocols were tightened owing to surges in COVID-19 cases. Legs 1 and 2 of the 2021 PHRX were held back in March, but then organizers had to suspend the season pending changes in the IATF guidelines. Soon after, the 2021 PHRX season resumed with legs 3 and 4 at the Clark Global City on July 18. The organizers were happy to see a good number of entries as an eager bunch of teams and race newbies and veterans alike showed up at Clark. The Rallycross Series features competition in several categories or groups depending on engine displacement, drivetrain, vehicle type. Each entry is allowed 3 runs on the course with the 2 best times added together to determine results. Racers can compete in multiple classes, hence the same names on different groups and classes. In the daytime round 3, Denise Santos topped Group 1 with Choi Mabuna in second and Noli Tino in third. Louis Camacho was quickest in Group 2 with David Feliciano in second and Paul Santos in third. Camacho was also quickest in Group 3 with Monde Mapili second and Steve Acaya in third. Acayan was fastest in Group 4 ahead of Santos in second and George Apacible third. Patrick Nang dominated the open class with Dindo de Jesus and Santos second and third respectively. The UV category was ruled by Nang with Alan Sarmiento in second and Kai Torrio in third. Patrick Nang was quickest in the AWD category, Alan Sarmiento was second and Cargian Racho third. Dindo de Jesus topped the RWD category with June Mago in second and Easy Ligaya in third. There were fewer entries in the nighttime leg 4, only Tino setting time for Group 1. Camacho still set the pace in Group 2 at night with Demapilis in second and Acayan in third. Camacho also topped Group 3 with Demapilis as second best and Edsel de Dios in third. Acayan was fastest in Group 4 competition. Santos was second and Apacible third. Nang bested Sarmiento in a one-on-one competition in the UV class. De Jesus proved quicker than Nang in the open category with Apacible as third fastest. Only 2 came out at night in the AWD class with Nang besting Sarmiento. De Jesus dominated the RWD class at night with June Magno in second and Easy Ligaya third. There was a huge break before rounds 5 and 6 were held again owing to COVID-19 restrictions, but when motorsports was again followed, the said rounds of the 2021 PHRX again drew a healthy number of entries to Clark Field on November 7. Familiar names of rallycross racing were again back on podium places of various classes following another day and night of racing in the dirt. JP Polintan was quickest in Group 1 ahead of Tino in second and Mabuna in third. Camacho topped Group 2, besting Polintan and Santos who were second and third respectively. Acayan showed in Group 3 with Santos in second and Gerald Lim in third. Acayan also topped Group 4 with Santos again back in second, but with Apacible in third. Nang de Jesus and Demapilis made up the podium of the open class first, second, and third respectively. Nang was also fastest in the UV class. Demapilis was second and Sarmiento third. Nang beat Sarmiento to top the AWD class with Demapilis ending up third. De Jesus was quickest in the RWD class, joined on the podium by Ligaya in second and Magno in third. As usual, many of the competitors went home as it got dark, leaving fewer entries in the nighttime round 6. Tino outdueled Mabuna in a one-on-one fight in Group 1. Camacho again ruled Group 2, with Santos finishing second and De Dios third. Camacho also topped Group 3 with Santos again in second and Acayan in third. Acayan did better in topping the Group 4 class ahead of Demapilis and Apacible, who ended up third. Nang was quickest in the open class, the UV class, and the AWD class. De Jesus topped the RWD with Ligaya in second and Magno in third. The 2021 Philippine Rallycross Series capped off its season with one final leg held in Clark with rounds 7 and 8. It was, as happened in the second year of COVID, still a well-attended affair, and saw more teams, drivers, and spectators just happy to be back participating or just watching racing in the dirt.
There is a sense that people are tired of being cooped up at home and doing nothing. Motorsports enthusiasts are particularly unhappy with the situation, and there were a lot of happy faces at racing circuits and dirt courses, both relieved and excited that motorsports, real and not just virtual, is back.
Stay tuned. We'll return with more of grassroots and higher-level racing events that resumed on the second COVID-19 year that was in motorsports.
This Motoring Today year-end special episode is brought to you by Mitsubishi Motors Philippines, Prudential Guarantee, Suzuki Philippines, and Toyota Motor Philippines.
I think my dad is secretly a superhero. He's the coolest, smartest, strongest person alive. No matter where we go, he always makes sure I feel safe. And he isn't afraid of anything. My dad likes to call that the power to lead. I call it his superpower.
The Mitsubishi Strada athlete, confident to the core.
Welcome back to the year that was when local motorsports returned to real racing. Things were not back to normal, to be sure, but everyone was happy to be out there on the track and parking lots for honest-to-goodness racing.
Among grassroots and other events that got back on track was the Philippine Autocross Championship Series. It was raining on the day the Philippine Autocross Championship Series finally resumed its COVID-19 truncated 2020 season. The wet conditions didn't dampen the enthusiasm of those who showed up at the R33 drift track in San Simon, Pampanga. Novices and autocross veterans alike showed up to compete against each other to set the fastest time around the course outlined by cones and barriers. It was clear from the state of the cars lining up to take their turns at the challenging course, many had spent the lockdowns trying to prepare their chargers for the competition. At the end of round 4 of what race organizers called the 2020-2022 Philippine Autocross Championship Series, Perfecto Pakutkot topped the overall category with Ryan Ablang in second and Ronz Yuzon third. Ablang topped the open class with Yuzon coming in second and Pakutkot third. Yuzon was quickest in the novice class with Alfie Bince ending up second and Emil Barquez in third. It was a bit of a wait before autocross racing resumed with round 5. And this time, skies were clear and the track was dry at the R33 drift track for a great day of exciting autocross competition. More familiar faces showed at the track, including such names as Mike Potenciano, Ablang, and Carol Collantes. At the end of another thrilling autocross encounter at the track, Miko Briones was fastest overall with Ablang earning second honors and Rod Chang, another familiar name, in third. Yuzon ruled open class with Briones in second and Ablang in third. Bince topped the novice class with Yuzon in second and James Hizon in third. The packs moved over to the Clark International Speedway for round 6 in November. Briones was quickest overall in round 6 of the series with Richard Gallardo in second and Paui Base in third. Gallardo ruled the open class with Emerson Ocampo ending up second, edging third placer Yuzon by mere tenths of a second. Yuzon turned in the fastest time among novice drivers, with Base coming in second and Marquez ending up third. The Formula V1 Race Challenge roared back to life with a weekend of 4 races at the Clark International Speedway. For the participating teams and racers, it was exhilarating to experience anew the sights, sounds, and smell of real racing. 2 classes, Pro and Am, competed on the same grid determined by a combined qualifying session. And with a grid for subsequent races determined by the reverse grid rule, there was lots of passing going on. Daniel Miranda topped the Pro class in races 1 and 2, MILO Rivera ruled race 3, Juicy Hoyka took the top of the podium in race 4. Julian Tang dominated the AM class, winning 3 of the 4 races in round 1, with 15-year-old Joaquin Garrido of the Phoenix Pulse Racing team taking the top of the podium for race 4. The second leg of the 2021 Formula V1 Race Challenge took place in December, again with 4 races over a 2-day race weekend at the Clark International Speedway. All 4 races were a slam-bang, wheel-to-wheel battle for podium finishes in the pro class among the trio of MILO Rivera, Eduardo Coseteng, and Daniel Miranda. Coseteng ended up winning 2 of the 4 races, with Rivera and Miranda each winning a race. The championship points leader heading into the second leg, Miranda, topped race 5 and settled for 3rd in races 6, 7, and 8. Coseteng ruled races 6 and 7 while finishing 3rd in race 5 and 2nd in race 8. The multi-titled slalom king Rivera topped race 8 while finishing 2nd in races 5, 6, and 7. Garrido dominated the AM class, winning all 4 races in the second leg of the Formula V1 Challenge. Tang finished 2nd in races 5 and 7 while finishing 3rd in race 6. Sesco Dino earned multiple podium finishes, 2nd in race 6 and 3rd in races 7 and 8. Also getting podium finishes in the final leg of the Formula V1 Challenge were Julian Neri, who finished 3rd in race 5, and Sebastian Soto, who finished 2nd in race 8. Race Motorsports Club finally got to hold a slalom event nearly 2 years after the COVID-19 pandemic shut down the 2020 motorsports season. The 2021 Phoenix Pulse Slalom Challenge drew motorsports enthusiasts to the Tarlac Circuit Hill last October 30 for a day of setting fast times around the slalom course with long straights, fast turns, tight chicanes, and some 180-degree turns. Race Motorsports Club held 2 more slalom events, one at the Tarlac Circuit Hill on November 14 and at Robinson Star Mills in Pampanga on December 12. Towards the end of the year, the biggest motorsports event, both in terms of participation and cash prizes, was held at the Clark International Speedway. Over 3 days, the speedway was crammed with scores of cars, from stock daily drivers to heavily modified weekend racers, from pocket rockets to muscle cars, and all manner of custom-built dragsters. All lured by the huge cash prizes amounting to a total of 2 million pesos offered by the 2021 MOTUL Race Wars. Over 3 days, entries in 8 classes of drag racing went head-to-head, all hoping to rise up the stepladder competition to reach the semifinals and finals, where huge cash prizes were at stake. At the end of grueling, nail-biting head-to-head duels, Jonathan Tu emerged as champion of the Super Pro class. Jose Carlos Lim topped the Quick 8 class. Reginald Tubo ruled the Quick 8D class. Kent Patrick La Rosa was champion of the Sportsman class. Kiel Lazaro bested all others in the Hot Street class. Drew Manyo topped the Diesel class. Arvin J. Millet ruled the Pro class. And Dino Gabriel was best in the Expert class.
More motorsports events were being held in the second half of 2021, raising optimism that grassroots and higher forms of racing will again thrive.
When we return, join us as we review the year that was in local e-motorsports. This Motoring Today year-end special episode is brought to you by Mitsubishi Motors Philippines, Prudential Guarantee, Suzuki Philippines, and Toyota Motor Philippines.
Suzuki Ertiga.
Life is beating fast. Find what you're waiting for.
Seven-seater in style.
Mitsubishi Strada athlete, confident to the core.
Welcome back to our year-end special, the year that was in motorsports still in the throes of COVID-19. Many racers and motorsports enthusiasts turned to e-motorsports while locked down at their homes.
And in 2020, it saw the birth of such e-motorsports series as the Toyota GR-GT Cup and the Formula V1 Virtual Cup. Even when their counterparts in the real world were revived in 2021, the sim racing events continue.
Following the success of the GR-GT Cup Philippines in 2020, Toyota decided to hold another in 2021, offering up $1 million worth of prizes in cash and kind to winners. Like in the first year of the lockdown, Toyota said the 2021 GRGT Cup was open to racers in 3 categories: the sporting for professionals, promotional for non-pros, and junior for 17 years old and below. 3 rounds and a finals comprised the 2021 GRGT Cup. Every round drew scores of participants from professional and leisure gamers, as well as local motorsport stars. Round 1 saw Russell Cabrera emerge as champion of the junior class with Joshua David Marquez in second and John Paul Veloso in third. Jether Miole ruled the promotional class while Terence Alyaves topped the sporting class, edging out the likes of Luis Morena and Stefano Rivera, a familiar name in real motorsports. The second round of the 2020 Toyota GRGT Cup saw exciting wheel-to-wheel racing on the digital and fictional circuit called the Toyota Extrasway, East Outer Loop popular in the Gran Turismo sport video game. Moreno topped the sporting class, beating first-round winner Lalyave, who ended up second. First-round winner Miole again finished first in the promotional class, while Marquez dominated the junior class. The third round drew over 200 participants, making it the biggest e-motorsports event of 2021. Cabrera topped the junior class. Marquez came in second with David Ison, ending up third. Miole won an action-packed race in the promotional class with Marcus Victa ending up second and Julius Kitlong finishing third. Moreno outdueled Lalyave for first place in the sporting class, while Corban Guerrero settled for third. The top 6 finishers from the promotional and sporting classes were to go head-to-head in the national round qualifiers before the final race of the 2021 Toyota Gazoo Racing GT Cup. The Phoenix Pulse Formula V1 Virtual Cup returned for a second season in 2021. Open to both Filipino and international esports racers aged 14 years old and above, this esports series based on PC game Assetto Corsa had 2 classes: the Pro class for professional esport racers and the AM class for aspiring racers with no experience in sim racing. The 2020 Phoenix Pulse Formula V1 Virtual Cup got off to a rousing start, with their familiar name in local motorsports topping the Pro class. Inigo Anton topped the Pro class in Race 1, with Russell Reyes finishing second and Aldo Balagulan ending up third. Joshua David ruled the AM class with Francis Metrillo finishing second and Joshua Nabus ending up third. In Race 2, Andre Varquez emerged as champion of the Pro class. Coming in second place was Lance Padilla, with Andika Rama Maulana earning the last step of the Pro class podium. In the AM class, Metrillo improved on a second place finish in Race 1 to claim the top step of the podium in Race 2. Race 1 winner Marquez dropped to second. James Gatlabayan was the new man on the AM class podium after finishing third. On the second round, Pio Pascual topped the Race 3 of the AM class. Teammates Metrillo and RL Torres were second and third respectively. Roy Numeriparip took Race 4 in the AM class, with Vito Marquez coming in second and Errolson Howe ending up third. Moreno ruled the Pro class in Race 3, crossing the virtual finish line ahead of Reyes in second and Marquez in third. In Race 4, Daryl Brady emerged as the Pro class champion, with Anton in second and Reyes in third. Reyes dominated the Pro class in the third round of the Formula V1 Virtual Cup, winning both races 5 and 6. Marquez placed second in Race 5, with Moreno finishing third. Marquez also finished second in Race 6 with Anton in third. Nabus topped the AM class in Race 5, staving off the challenges of Pascual in second and Metrillo in third. Race 6 saw Riparip back on top of the AM class, with John Paul Castillo finishing second and Marquez in third. Even before the COVID-19 pandemic, Automobile Association of the Philippines, or AAP, taking a cue from the FIA, has already initiated efforts to extend its reach into digital motorsports. These efforts may have been fast-tracked after the pandemic shut down real-life motorsports for a while. In 2021, the Motorsports Department of the AAP launched the first national-level digital rally series in the Philippines. Called the AAP National Digital Rally Championship, the sim racing series featured difficult challenges for participants competing using the fastest vehicles on the toughest rally stages found on the Dirt Rally 2.0 video game. While following a similar format to previous digital seasons, the AAP National Digital Rally Championship aimed to provide more of a challenge in difficult rally stages in varied vehicle types and drivetrains. AAP has also begun issuing competition licenses for digital motorsports, with all Filipino participants at the Digital Rally Championship getting a non-fungible e-license for free, with an option for a physical license card for a fee. The fourth and final leg of the Digital Rally Championship was an international invitational digital rally event participated in by foreign racers from the Asia-Pacific region, competing against the best Filipino rallyists in a live stream event. The overall winners of the Digital Rally Championship were to be classified as the first ever Philippine National Digital Motorsport Champions.
The way things look now, digital motorsports should continue to grow, especially with support from the AAP and the many sponsors and other stakeholders who now see how a connected world and digital processes are changing societies.
Please stay tuned. When we return, find out how motorsports personalities and stakeholders, champions, organizers, the AAP cope with the lockdowns. the return of racing, and what they expect motorsports will be in the new normal.
This Motoring Today year-end special episode is brought to you by Mitsubishi Motors Philippines, Prudential Guarantee, Suzuki Philippines, and Toyota Motor Philippines.
I think my dad is secretly a superhero. He's the coolest, smartest, strongest person alive. No matter where we go, he always makes sure I feel safe. And he isn't afraid of anything. My dad likes to call that the power to lead. I call it his superpower.
Live extra
with the Mitsubishi Xpander Cross.
Welcome back to our year-end special on the year that was in motorsports.
The past 2 years have been difficult for motorsports enthusiasts, organizers, professional and amateur racers, sponsors, and other stakeholders. The COVID-19 pandemic hit local motorsports hard, especially organizers, including Tuason Racing. But they found it could also find success in e-motorsports, translating how it organized racing events on the track to virtual racing.
We moved into our second series last year, which we called the Formula V1 Virtual Cup, which was sponsored by Phoenix. And it was great because we basically turned our physical races into an online platform using very similar cars, and we even used the Clark Speedway in the series. So we had over 300 players, we had over 500,000 views, and it was great fun for not only us but also the players. And the beauty of this for us is by having these people come into e-racing, esports, it grows the motorsports fan base, which has always been our goal, to get more enthusiasts out there. And what we did is we took the experience that we had in organizing physical races and used this in the virtual world. So we had virtual drivers briefings, we had stewards watching the races, we were giving out penalties, we had bulletins for the drivers, and I think the participants appreciated the professionalism in terms of how it was organized.
As COVID-19 restrictions eased in 2021, Tuason Racing planned and implemented both online and on-track racing.
What we wanted to do this year is we want to marry what we learned last year and integrate that into our plans for 2021. So we're going to be running our virtual races at the beginning of the year, starting in May. And we're going to be doing activities this year with Toyota. We're going to be doing activities this year with Phoenix. And as the year progresses, we're going to be moving towards physical activities where track-based races can actually happen. So in the second half of the year, we're going to be running a lot of these physical races, and we're going to be taking the physical events that we do and turning that into content and bringing that to the motorsports enthusiasts that can't make it out to the track because, again, of all the safety protocols. And hopefully by taking this content to them online, we can again grow the motorsports fan base in the Philippines.
Like everyone else, the COVID-19 pandemic caught the Automobile Association of the Philippines, or AAP, unaware, and they had to adjust their priorities. During the lockdowns, AAP focused their attention on e-motorsports, something that the FIA and by extension to its local affiliate in the Philippines were also looking to develop as part of overall efforts to engage more people to participate or to be a fan of motorsports.
The pandemic gave an extra push because actually people couldn't leave their houses, right? So the FIA wanted people to remain interested in motorsports, e-motorsports, because people can enjoy this from their homes, without leaving their homes. And at the same time, there were other people locally who were organizing e-motorsports. For instance, JP Tuason has his own PRS motorsport games, but that was basically a circuit e-motorsport. So what we decided to do was to try to make a rally e-motorsport, because there are people who like both circuit and rally. So Ivan, our motorsport manager, Ivan Isada, put up and created our own e-motorsport games, and from the very outset attracted quite a number of people.
But even without the opportunity to hold motorsports events, especially to continue the gains in spreading the gospel of motorsports, through the Motorsports Development Program, the AAP continued to engage with motorsports clubs and organizers during the pandemic.
The MSDP program is vital to us, because what we want to do is to keep trying to develop grassroots racing. During the worst parts of the pandemic, 2020, Viv Isada, who is basically the person supervising MSDP, has been going around the provinces and coordinating with motorsports clubs, primarily in Cebu, Cagayan de Oro, Bacolod, etc. And he's continuing to spread the gospel without actually conducting motorsport events because we cannot. But, he's been coordinating with them. And so now that it looks like the pandemic is on its way out, although slowly, I think that he's working now on this program for 2021-2022.
Will the resumption of local grassroots and higher forms of racing mean that the AAP will no longer be pushing e-motorsports programs?
Now this e-motorsport is part and parcel of our motorsport events. We consider this a motorsport event even if it's virtual, because it's the wave of the future. It gives everybody a chance to participate in motorsports without actually having to spend the money, get a car and run it, and then they're on the same footing as sila Hamilton, sila Verstappen, because they can compete against these guys virtually, For our own, domestically speaking, we've put up e-rallies, and there are other people who have organized their own, like JP, as I said, and we're going to continue to try to develop this so that we can create a following for this, because I really think that this is the way to get more people involved in motorsports.
The COVID-19 pandemic did not stop Phoenix Petroleum and Tuason Racing from discovering new racing talents. In 2021, the Phoenix Pulse Young Drivers program shifted to finding local talents in e-racing to be part of the team that will compete in the Formula V1 Virtual Cup.
The good thing about esports is it's gaining traction and popularity in the Philippines. We see a lot of online gamers, streamers left and right. The Phoenix Fuels brand has a similarity with esports. It's young, dynamic, aggressive, and growing.
Complementing this initiative, Phoenix and Tuason Racing also launched Phoenix Pulse's Young Drivers program, Celebrity Showdown.
I'm very, very excited to show off our first episode because it perfectly aligns with our goal at PRS, which is to make dreams come true for our students and our participants in our programs through motorsports.
Tuason Racing and Phoenix hope the excitement generated by Celebrity Showdown will translate to growth of motorsports both in virtual and real racetracks. The COVID-19 pandemic has opened a whole new world for local grassroots racers who've taken e-racing to sate their thirst for motorsports. Among them is Francis Gonzalez, who, even before the pandemic and while earning class wins in the Philippine Autocross Championship Series, had already discovered sim racing.
I found out about Sim Racing Pilipinas when they set up a booth at Bonifacio High Street. That was during Father's Day. I went in and tested their sim, and I asked if there are any events available in the future, and then that's how I began.
So when the 2020 motorsports season was shut down by the pandemic and forced people to stay at home, Francis had all the time to practice for and compete in sim racing. Spending at least 2 hours a day practicing with his sim kit paid off for Francis, who emerged champion in the bronze class of the 2021 e-racing GP. This is what Francis said after winning a championship in a grueling, tough, and competitive e-racing series.
Sim racing for me is the closest thing I can do right now during the pandemic, and sim racing is easy to set up. You don't need to pay for an arm and a leg as compared to the real car. And sim racing actually allows you to restart when you crash during practice, and then once you get the hold of the drivability of the car you're driving, just have to practice racecraft, then tire management, and as well as memorizing the braking zones, and finally consistency. Consistency is the most important element when it comes to sim racing.
Teenage phenom Inigo Anton was a rising star in local grassroots motorsports when the COVID-19 pandemic shut down the 2020 motorsports season just as it was beginning. Locked down at home and with no racing going on, Inigo turned to virtual racing, competing in local and regional sim racing events in 2020. In 2021, he competed in the e-racing Grand Prix and in the E1 Championship. But as restrictions eased and motorsports was allowed to go back on track, Inigo decided to focus on the Vios Cup, Toyota's one-make circuit racing championship. His first foray back on a real track was in the training program held by Tuason Racing in preparation for the Vios Cup later in the year.
I was just very excited to, get back into a real car. For what I joined last week was that it's actually the level 1 and level 2 program of Tuason's Racing School to get into the Vios Cup. So knowing that, we decided that with our team, Team Avengers, who picked me up for this year's Vios Cup, which I'm very excited for, we decided that, of course, to be in Vios Cup, we have to go through this racing school, through this level 1 and level 2. And even though it wasn't a race, or it was just it wasn't a full-blown practice session that you could just drive around the whole racetrack as much as you want, just being back in a car, after a race car, especially after so long, I was just so happy to be there.
With motorsports returning to real tracks, will Inigo still compete in sim races?
For sim racing as a whole, it's been an amazing thing to happen for everybody who's into cars and who's into racing. And I'd like to advise everybody who's into cars and who wants to try racing to just try and join virtual races and sim racing. It doesn't need to be really professional or very competitive. There's a lot of leagues, and a lot of just public races that people can join every day in and day out. And you don't have to be discouraged if you're just starting off and you're off the pace, because with just practice and constant just improvement, you'll eventually get there. Some people reach the highest level really quickly, some take a long time, but as long as you enjoy what you're doing, you could just always try it out.
Among those whose motorsport careers were affected by the pandemic lockdowns was 5-time SLALOM king MILO Rivera, who in 2019 and 2020 decided to concentrate on circuit racing. While many others shifted to e-racing, at least while on-track racing remained suspended, MILO decided to totally take a break from competition.
When the pandemic hit, it was an opportunity for me to take my mind out of motorsports. And when I say by that, even online races, lalo na a few months into the pandemic, there were announcements and events coming up in terms of online racing. And of course, I'm not gonna lie, there were people who asked me, why don't you join and why don't you continue the racing lifestyle through online while we're in the middle of the pandemic. My brother obviously said yes, and he actually doing very well at that, and I admire him being always having an opportunity to be on top both online and in actual racing. But for me, it was all part of the whole and all that. Although I have to admit as well, once we had the rig, I took some time to just practice, drive around, use it offline, and just to keep my body flowing in terms of the basics of motorsports.
When motorsports beckoned as restrictions were eased in 2021, Milo didn't think twice about accepting the invitation to drive for the GAC team in the 2021 Petron Kalayaan Cup 12-hour endurance challenge.
They're a great bunch of guys, and even if people weren't looking at us as favorites, we had our own expectations coming into the race, and that was to run for the win. Even if our car was underpowered compared to everybody else, we had our other weapons to keep us afloat and to keep us winning, and that's what proved to be, kumbaga, our winning formula. Not to mention any specifics, but we got the job done and we were enjoying it at the same time. Plus, for me and other members of our team, it was really refreshing to be back on the track, even if it's not like full-on competitiveness. Just to be on the track racing, going head-to-head, wheel-to-wheel with other cars. That's all we could ask for after all that's been happening.
Soon after, Milo also took the opportunity to race in the Formula V1 Challenge.
The events started to pop up opportunities as well, and given those opportunities, we tried to make a decision or try to plan things out well so that I could get myself a seat. And apparently, Front Row Racing team had an available seat for the Formula V1 season this year, and I guess it was wise for us to just grab a hold of that opportunity, not just to represent Front Row, but also to be able to be back on track.
Milo is already looking forward to 2022 when he expects motorsports to shake off the shackles of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Well, for 2022, anything and everything is possible. We can start racing more races here in the country, or we can start resuming races abroad as well. Like I said, anything can happen, and the only thing that we can do for now, is, at least for my end, is to always be ready, always stay sharp, always stay conditioned, and be ready for each race.
Unlike his brother Milo, Estefano Rivera couldn't help but compete in e-races in 2020 and 2021. The 2019 Slalom King and 2019 Formula V1 Challenge champion participated in the race for frontliners, the Toyota GR-GT Cup, and the Formula V1 Virtual Cup in 2020, and more of the same in 2021.
Habang walang karera outside, kahit syempre due to the pandemic, nakate rin kami, kasama ako doon to join one of these races, this virtual cup races. And actually, besides na for fun siya, it also made me learn a few things na even sa virtual race track matututunan mo. So it was a fun experience, and being competitive was a bonus because it was really fun.
When motorsports, racing on real tracks and courses, slowly made a return in 2021, and with interest in sim racing continuing to grow, Estefano was among those who regularly crossed from virtual to real racing. So how did it feel racing under COVID-19 pandemic restrictions?
Well, different. Siguro in a way, it was the safety precautions. It was just to go to practice, kailangan ng PCR test, those kinds of stuff, safety protocol. Pero regarding yung kami as racers or the competition, it was actually parang nothing different. Actually, parang it became, hindi naman more serious, pero everyone, since people can't really be outside because of the pandemic, so some other racers, parang ako, ilang beses sa Clark natulog. Parang naging second home na ang Clark, so everyone was also a bonding experience, pero syempre safe kami. But yun, it was race-wise, it's the same. The pandemic lang yung safety kami, which Toyota did a great job regarding ng mga PCR tests, promoting social distancing, tas yung controlled environment. So I think that was the only difference. Pero overall, it was still a great season for all the drivers.
2021 was a good year for Estefano, who emerged as overall champion of the super sporting class of the Toyota Gazoo Racing Vios Cup. So, what's next for him? Will his future involve e-races?
Of course, I think I'll give it a try. We'll see. Siyempre, I don't want to pressure myself in too much kasi very competitive right now on sim racing. And I can see it's getting bigger, not just dito sa country, pero across Asia and the world. So, we'll see. I'll probably give it a try. For sure, I'll join next year's slalom. Regarding circuit racing, we'll see pa. Kasi mahirap na yun. I'm not sure with GT, pwede rin. I'm not sure if I can join again yung mga biggest cup. So, actually want to enjoy next year naman, not just watching the future generation.
The COVID-19 pandemic opened alternative pathways toward a career in motorsports, both on the track and in virtual racing circuits. It will be interesting to see how this develops as we head on to the new normal.
Please stay tuned. We'll wrap up this special on the second COVID-19 year that was in local motorsports. This Motoring Today year-end special episode is brought to you by Mitsubishi Motors Philippines, Prudential Guarantee, Suzuki Philippines, and Toyota Motor Philippines.
I think my dad is secretly a superhero. He's the coolest, smartest, strongest person alive. No matter where we go, he always makes sure I feel safe. And he isn't afraid of anything. My dad likes to call that the power to lead. I call it his superpower.
All-new Isuzu Mu X. Take the lead.
The Mitsubishi Strada athlete, confident to the core.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us until the end of our special episode on the year that was in motorsports, racing and e-racing in the second year of the pandemic. While we can't say it was a good year for local motorsport for obvious reasons, we can say that 2021 was the year when optimism heightened for motorsports to get back on track, literally and figuratively. They may have been few and far between, but grassroots racing events were run to the joy of weekend warriors.
The Vios Cup has resumed. The Formula V1 Challenge also showed that there is a career path for those looking to be professional racers. Sponsors are returning to motorsports with conviction. The MOTUL Race Wars, perhaps the biggest motorsports event yet, in both total prizes at stake and the number of participants, has talks of the return already of such events in 2022. E-motorsports were still the rage in 2021, here and abroad, and both the FIA and the AAP can't both be wrong in promoting sim racing.
There is really much cause for optimism that local motorsports will return to the same prominence and popularity it attained before the pandemic hit. On that note, we thank you for joining us on another year that was in motorsports. On behalf of our dad, Butch Gamboa, I'm Ray Louie Gamboa.
And I'm Susie Gamboa. Here's wishing all of you happy holidays and
happy motoring!